And it does help that I'm not doing this alone. For stance, I have 7 other people with me. While it is still work, it's fun. It's fun because I have a support group, and they in turn they have us as well. So, you know, if it wasn't fun, if I didn't do it with my friends, I would not be doing it.
That was Daniel Zhu, one of the founders of Stance, which is a broadcasting and media production company that focuses on the art of movement, things like breaking, tricking, and parkour. They've got almost 1 million followers out there on their social media platforms. They're a serious force to be reckoned with. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview.
2, 3, 4.
Hey, podcast people. John here. You are listening to Make Moves, a show dedicated to humanizing creative risk takers. This episode features an interview with Daniel Zhu, which, as I've already mentioned, he's one of the founders of Stance, the broadcasting and media production company with a focus on the art of movement. In particular, I'm a big fan of their video work around breakdancing. I don't know if you all knew this, but I am a huge fan of breakdancing. It actually goes back to my childhood when I was in 5th grade. I was growing up on the sunny coast of California. Meanwhile, breakdancing was emerging in the Bronx, and for some reason, I got enamored with it and thought it made perfect sense that I should be into breakdancing. Of course, this all happened way before I was self-conscious. I didn't care that I was a suburban kid who had attached himself to this urban dance craze. I learned some moves. I practiced wherever I could, which at that time was either on a flattened cardboard box on the sidewalk or on the smooth tile floors in the local Sears. I love those floors. Anyway, I organized a dance performance at my elementary school. I went to watch dance competitions at local skating rinks with their beautiful smooth hardwood floors. I watched every music video or movie I could find that had breakdancing in it. I mean, I just loved it. So before 7th grade, I took whatever back to school money my parents had set aside and bought clothes that aligned with my budding fixation on B-boy culture. I really doubled down on this breaking thing. I was convinced that my suburban junior high was going to be all about breaking. And so on the first day of 7th grade, I found the breaking circle behind the gym and I watched the dancers. And I had this sort of surprising revelation. With the exception of this giant Israeli kid, I think he must have been like 6 feet tall in 7th grade. Anyway, I was the only white kid there and nobody said anything about it to me, but that was probably the exact moment when I became self-conscious, and I was probably, just too young and immature to know how to stick to my guns and do the things that I really cared about. In all fairness to me, every other suburban white kid at that school, there's probably 2,000 kids there. Magically, they had all become surfers that day, and I wasn't, and I didn't even really know what surfing was. But overnight, I realized that there was this whole crowd mentality. Anyway, so I kind of let breaking go, and I just sort of admired it from the sidelines for, as long as I could. And then, fast forward 30 years, I'm trolling through Facebook, and I found these amazing clips of breakdancers from around the world. This art form, it went from these urban black kids in the Bronx to this worldwide thing. Literally now that I'm not in 7th grade anymore, breaking's gone global. There's major B-boy and B-girl communities on every continent. Asia, South America, Africa, Eastern Europe. It's everywhere. So anyway, I started following Stance to get my fix of amazing dance videos. And then one day, like I do, I just happened to send them a message to ask some questions because, as you know, I'm always curious about something. And Daniel replied. That ultimately led to this interview after a couple of exchanges of emails, and I think you're going to really dig what you're hearing here. Please do listen. I'll check in with you about the halfway point. If you enjoy this show, please consider subscribing. Search around, find some other episodes. There's something for everyone. If you really like it, I hope you will rate and review the show on iTunes and share with a friend. For now, I'm going to be quiet, turn off my mic, you turn on your ears. Happy listening. Hey, Daniel, thanks for coming on Make Moves.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really glad you're here. I'm going to start out. Let's try and describe who you are a little bit. You are how does this work in the modern culture? You're a videographer, producer, creative, all things media. What do you call yourself?
Good question. Just call me a creative. I mean, nowadays you have to pretty much do everything. You have to be at least not. You don't have to do it 100% well in every aspect, but you have to know about everything. Once you film, you need to know how to put out the video. You have to know how to promote the video. You know your topics correctly, and you know a little bit of everything for you to succeed.
So 50 years ago, you would have been one thing, but now you have to be all things because that's just how the world works now.
Pretty much. And sometimes I would get, I work in a team now, and sometimes, depending on different kinds of events, we would choose different roles. So there are times where we choose different things.
Well, let me ask you, you sort of came onto my radar because of your work with Stance.
Yeah.
Can you tell everyone out there, wait, hang on, let's make sure that you're still recording. Hey. Yeah, you're still recording.
Right, there you go.
Can you tell everyone out there what Stance is?
Stance is right now we're a social media production company. We focus mostly on the art of movement, which is basically our backgrounds. So my friends and I, we have backgrounds. Should I wait for this?
Nah, it's fine. Listeners, if you haven't figured it out, we're outside on a college campus right now, so those pesky kids are going to be coming around, as will the bells. There's nothing we can do about it.
So the art of movement, that's what we focus on. So right now we focus a lot on hip-hop dance, mainly breaking, and we do tricking and parkour as well.
Oh, wow. You do a whole lot of stuff that I wasn't even aware of.
Probably not.
Yeah, because I know I figured out a lot of, my connection to how I came onto you was through all this breaking. It's like you've got this huge, I want to say channel, but it's everywhere. It's Facebook, YouTube, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
How did all this come about? What do you wake up one day and you say, I'd like to start a social media company around movement?
Well, all of us, including myself, we all started as breakers. We danced. For me, I started in 2000. So whether I'm good or not, that's debatable. But we all have an interest in it, but more importantly, we all have an interest in filming. So we were like, you know what? There hasn't been like an official good quality channel that makes, that showcases breaking to the rest of the world. To really show like what we love, we want to show that to the rest of the world. And so that's how Stance came evolved. And so for me, I've been filming dancers for the last, next year, 2018 is going to be 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
So
you got a decade under your belt.
Yeah, I got a decade.
So, your reach is huge. But I'm the goal is to what? Are you like an ambassador of this whole B-boy culture? Are you just highlighting what's already out there? How do you see that? Because you are putting it out there for a broader range of people to see.
We are putting it out there for a broader range. Yeah,
it's out there anyway, right?
It has always been out there. I guess it's just the way we are doing it gets a lot of people's attention more. First of all, we focus on quality. If the video is not quality driven, then I don't want to put it online. There's so much, I feel like in some ways Stance is a filter, because even with basketball, not many people have time nowadays to watch an entire basketball game, but I do want to see some cool highlights, and it's those highlights that attract, especially non-dancers' attentions. And then once we draw you in, then we can show you the full event. We can show you the full, culture. We can show you the full arsenal of moves and people of where we come from. And that's just one of our many formats that we use at Stance to get an audience.
Where do you think Stance is headed? What is the end goal, or is there an end goal? Does it just go on forever?
I was thinking to myself the other day, I'm 35. How long am I gonna, squeeze in there in the circle and keep filming? I have no idea. It's a lot of fun right now. So far right now, there is no end goal, there are people that have been in the scene that are in their 40s and 50s, and you can't tell because this whole, dancing is so much fun, and everyone has smiles in their faces, and it makes you young. Even if you're older, you act young because of just how the scene is and how much fun it is. So right now, I'll still love doing this for another 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Do you survive on this? Are there other things that you need to do to stay alive?
Right now, there is money in the scene. However, in terms of dancer wise, I would say only 1% of dancers are doing this full time. For us, as a media partner, we are all doing it part time. There are some barriers that we have to, navigate through. The biggest barrier to doing dance media full time, I think, is copyright music, which unfortunately plays a big important role in dance events. And so once we have that, solved, it makes it possible for dancers to make more money, for people like me who are filming dancers to make more money. But unfortunately, we're still at baby steps right now.
Yeah, and I know. A lot of the social media platforms, if they hear they've got robots that listen to copywritten music. They'll shut your streams down.
Of course, it's like let's say the two biggest platforms right now are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and they will shut you down without any argument whatsoever.
Right. Even if you have permission.
Even if you have permission, and somehow the robot doesn't recognize the permission slip that fell through the cracks, they will shut you down, and it messes up your entire flow. It has happened to us a couple of times, but it's just one of the things we have to go through.
Well, you're a social media company. I guess you have to deal with it.
It sucks because of all the things that are popular nowadays. Let's say you have like I watch esports, super popular. I watch other sports competitions, super popular. We're the only one that really depends on music.
Right.
And because if you make it silent, you're missing the soul of the dance.
Yeah. Well, I hear that. Hey, do you think if the music were different, or let me rephrase this. Do you think music, if the music evolves, do you think it'll push the art form in a different direction? Because I know a lot of the music has been sort of static, sort of the same kind of vibe and feel to it for a lot of years.
Yeah.
What do you think music might do, or do you think there's any room to shift music for the sake of the dance?
You can see that now. You don't even have to see it through my footage. This dance started in the 70s, and in the Bronx, yeah. And in that time, funk music was popular, super popular. You got the James Brown, you have, Kool and the Gang, you have all that kind of stuff, and that kind of funk soul music really brought out a funk soul feel in the dancers that you cannot replicate now with, let's say nowadays you have more electronic, you have more hip hop, you have that stuff. It might not be present. So the evolution of music does change the way people dance. A good DJ nowadays would play a mixture of everything. Mm-hmm. So at some of the dance events that we record nowadays, they will play the soul, they will play the funk, they will play the 80s rap, the 90s rap, the rap from the 2000s, and they will play new beats made by DJs and producers nowadays. So yeah, it does. There is an evolution to it.
So when did you say you got into this? When did you really know that you were in love with this b-boy culture?
When? Oh, yeah. 2000.
2000.
Oh yeah.
Was there like a defining moment where you said, "Oh yeah, I have to do this forever"?
You know what? So I started college at the year 2000, and I didn't have many friends, and the friend group that I fell in love with were the dancers. I was like, "What is this? This is so cool!" And not only that, but I went to the school of University of Wisconsin, and predominantly white. And me being the one only Asian guy, I kind of felt a little different. However, among the breakers, there were other Asian people, there were other black people, there were Latinos. I was like, this is so cool. I am friends with all these different kinds of, ethnicities, and we just get together and we go to dance practice. We'll hang out afterwards, and it just got me hooked, and that was my friends group, for the rest of my life.
Huh. Well, so I've been thinking about, this started in the Bronx in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's now this worldwide global thing.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the world does this. And you're in the middle of it. What do you think it is about that whole B-boy and B-girl culture? I don't want to leave out the ladies.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about it that makes it so permeable? It gets through all kinds of differences. Like, we fight about the stupidest stuff because we think we're different. And then this thing just manages to cut through the chain link fence that divides us all. And everyone's connected through it. What do you think it is?
Well, first of all, it's the motto for hip hop in general back in the 70s and 80s was peace, love, unity, and having fun. That was the motto put down then. And whenever there's a dance event, a gathering, whether it's a competition, whether it's like just a practice session, whether it's you're just at a club or anywhere like that, that's what everyone wants to do is, they want to dance out with each other. They want to have fun with each other, whether it's friendly competition or just a friendly dance circles, is everyone has this smile on their face. And you don't have to speak the same language to do that. That's why I'm friends with people from Africa, from Asia, from Europe. I've seen my friends from Japan 5 times this year. And I don't speak Japanese. They speak very limited English, but we're really great friends.
Huh.
And it's so cool because we all know, we all nod, we all smile, we all know that, this is what we like. And they throw events, we throw events, and it's just this cross-cultural, exchange.
Where do you think it's headed? It's so big now, but it's sort of big it's kind of big in the way that it reminds me of when skateboarding got big.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it was, this thing that there was video footage, and then it was video games, and then it was events, and then it's an enormous.
Yeah.
Where do you think this is all going in your dance world?
I think right now, I hope I'm right, and we've talked about this with other people in the dance scene. This is like the early 1990s stages of skateboarding, where the attention is already there. It's really underground, it's already there. And once that first Tony Hawk, vert game, the video game and everything came out, it just exploded. And that's what we're hoping for, is that you have this mixture of, yes, it can go mainstream, but yes, it can still stay underground and everyone, gets to eat at the table. That's, and so your analogy of like breaking and skateboarding is totally correct, because you're both started from youth.
Right.
No one thought about using this form to make money, but if you can dance and make a living off of dance, that's so cool.
Yeah. And I think also old people are fragile. I'm one of them. I'm older now. You know, like, you don't look at that and say, oh, I think I'm going to do that. It has to be born out of youth and a little bit of insanity and being limber, I guess. There's certain things that, you're not going to see this at the senior homes anytime soon, probably.
No. But
well, maybe, I don't know.
But no, I do hope it gets bigger. And, just like skateboarding, it can be mainstream and it can be underground at the same time.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I was talking with this guy from Zimbabwe, I think he was from, and he was a big proponent of the thumb piano, the mbira. And it's like, I don't know, it's like this.
I've seen that before.
It's like a cultural icon, I guess, in his country. And he was on this mission to like spread it as far as possible. And he said, we have to give up a little bit of what the history is so that it can be taken up by everybody else. Like, it can't just be a strict traditional instrument and grow at the same time. Do you think that, I like how you said it, there's going to be room for mainstream and sort of, underground, but there's room for everyone. Everyone at the table can eat, I think, is how you just said it. But do you think you're going to have to, not you, you don't have to give it up. Do you think that movement is going to have to give anything up to go more mainstream? Do you think it's going to have to let go of anything?
That's a good question. That's a very good question on whether we have to give up anything. You know, there's been sometimes like I'll give you an example. The term breakdance kind of, you know, gives me the chills, because it's like, it's not really the correct term of the dance. It's like the media, it's what the media made up in the 80s. They didn't know what the name of it, so let's just call it breakdance. And then the reason why the dance scene fell out in the 80s was because it got commercialized so much without any support from the dance scene, right? And the term breakdance is just, among the dancers, just like, has a kind of a negative connotation. But then you meet people that have never seen the dance nowadays in 2017 that want to get really into it, and they say, "Oh yeah, you breakdance," and to a normal b-boy, they're just like, "Oh, I hate that name." But then you think in your head, do you know how I'm going to spend the next hour trying to teach you the definitions and the terms? Is this really worth my time, or should you just accept that you like it?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. That thing that you're naming inappropriately. Yeah, that's cool.
I know you're naming it wrong, but is it worth my time to really argue that with you, even though we're already on a positive level?
Yeah.
That's a really good question, and I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing that I've been thinking about, is culture. I mean, they talk about it as b-boy culture and this, and urban culture that, and hip-hop culture this and that. Part of culture is like, there's insiders and there's outsiders.
Yeah.
There's ways of knowing you belong. And it's the weird thing is, when you sort of open your arms up to everybody else, you have to sort of erase those ways of belonging long enough to let other people in. Or
I think the dance scene, the number of dancers in it is big enough nowadays that they won't let anything outside the scene that would misinterpret the dance get away with it. Point being, for example, there's a really popular TV show that was a couple months for season 1, called World of Dance. J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, was one of the judges, and when she incorrectly called out a dance move, the entire dance scene was like, they were calling her out. They're like, no, that is not what that move is called. And she's probably seen it because it's gone pretty viral. And so, just because of social media nowadays and stuff like that, the culture will stay the same to this authenticity, I feel.
Well, that's good.
And that's one of the popularities. That's why stance is pretty popular, because not only do we appeal to people outside the dance scene, we have a huge audience outside the dance scene, we also have the respect of the dancers themselves.
Yeah, how exactly did you, I mean, that's important, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, you're sort of getting to be the ambassador, the interpreter or something of this, and you have huge reach. By the way, everyone out there who's listening, I'd like you to know that they have a huge reach at Stance, and Daniel was kind enough to return my direct message. So it's sort of like a place where you could reach 100,000 or 500,000 or 1 million people, and they'll take the time to respond to one person. Now, of course, now that he's so famous, he's not going to respond to all of you. But in any case, that's the kind of atmosphere it is. But, you know, with this huge reach that you have, and hang on, we got a plane going by.
Okay.
We don't own the airspace.
It's Burbank Airport.
It's all right, we'll live. We'll edit this part out, or we'll leave it in for authenticity.
Surprised we stopped for a plane, we didn't stop for the skateboarder.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Probably a big mistake. All right, so we'll leave it in. It'll be this. Hear that? That's real. That's the real world, people. Okay, so in any case, you have the trust of these people.
Yeah.
How exactly did you get that trust? Is that just because you've been in it for a long time and you know lots of people? Is it because you're doing right by them? Why do you think you got the trust, or your team, your crew?
First of all, by just being friends. You know, I started dancing in the year 2000. Since that time, I've never left the scene, and I just become good friends with people all over the dance scene. It also has helped that I lived in many continents around the world. I lived in the Americas, I lived in Korea, I lived in Europe, I lived in Africa, and I also, you know, myself, I speak Chinese, French, and a little bit of Korean. So I am able to make good friends with people from different, you know, dance scenes. And it's like we share stories, we share understanding, where each one has come from. And so once you understand their backgrounds, it's just a mutual respect thing. You know, if I go to any event nowadays, you know, I can easily pick out 5 to 10 of the most influential dancers in that scene. I'll be like, that person did this person did this person did this. I know exactly where it came from. Point being, this past event last weekend called Freestyle Session.
Oh yeah.
We had some media guests from BuzzFeed and Snapchat here for the first time. I was assigned to take care of them. So they're like, we would like some interviews. And I said, all right, let's do it. So I navigated them through the entire crowd of like over 1,000 people. And we're like, we're going to interview these 2 sisters. We're going to interview this guy in his 50s. We're going to interview this other guy. And this is why you should interview him. You know, I was giving them just all this knowledge about what, you know, of who they should feature on, because these people had been the ambassadors of our scene for like decades. And it's just, you know, it's just knowledge gained through time. And I guess that's why Stance is made popular, because we understand that, you know, you have to have the foundation, you have to have the historical knowledge of educating everyone where the stance came from. And then, you know, obviously we people also want to see flashy moves too. So we have a good combination of both.
That's nice of you to have opened up the doors for them and helped them find the right people. I mean, it's good, because if you wouldn't have, who knows what they would have found.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then that's how things
that's
get sort of
hopefully,
misappropriated.
you know, it's like let's say you do something like on basketball. Everyone loves, you know, LeBron or Steph Curry nowadays, but did you know that, you know, LeBron's mentor was this person, and something like you catch them with the flashy moves and then you educate them with the history. That's pretty much what I want to do.
That right there is our soundbite. I wanted to ask you, you know, I noticed, because I follow your Facebook page and Stance. I follow everything. And because I try to be a responsible person when I take an interest in something, I want to see what the people are up to. And I noticed you did this thing. There was sort of it's like I don't know if under the radar is quite the right word, sort of like an outlier dancer who had a style that was really kind of different.
Okay.
And I guess this person a couple of years ago is getting, I don't know if grief from the scene is kind of quite the right way of explaining it, but no one really understood what was going on. And I guess over the course of a couple of years, this person really sort of grew into that style. And I think you said something like, way to go, way to stick to your thing, way to grow into it. How comfortable do you need to be to sort of accept the people that are the outliers and like say, no, we got room for you too?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I feel.
Who was that, by the way? I don't remember.
Oh my goodness. Oh, there's so many. Was it recently?
Yeah, it was like a week ago or something, maybe. I can't remember.
A week ago. Well, I'll tell you this. There's so many outliers in this dance scene. That's what makes it so great. You know, you wouldn't be part of this dance scene if you weren't an outlier. You know, I joined this dance scene because I didn't feel in place with the majority in my university, and I found this minority group, and I was like, I like you guys. You know, you guys are friendly, and that's what everyone else does for the dance scene. We were never the majority for anything, and you know, this dance grew up. It started in the Bronx with what? Minorities. You know, so you have outliers from all different parts of the area doing this, and I'll give you a perfect example. A couple weeks ago, this dance caught Joe Rogan's attention, who, you know, is one of the you know, people that started up the UFC.
Oh yeah.
Sold for a couple $2 billion, stuff like that. It caught his attention, and it caught his attention on a couple of different formats. And one of them was because we had these 2 brothers down in Oceanside, California, the Martinez brothers, and they were part of this dance crew called Freak Show. Now, Freak Show in the 2000s were outliers. Why? Because they dressed in emo gear. They dyed their hair. They had like tattoos. They look like skater emo punk rockers in this dance scene. And they got so much. They're like, you guys are so different. I don't know if we can accept you or not. They didn't care. They could care. They gave a shit. They didn't care at all. And they just kept doing their thing. Until nowadays, they still keep doing their thing. And the reason Joe Rogan caught their attention, because besides dance, they also did MMA fighting at their gym. And so they're like, and it's because of that many reasons because of that it caught Joe Rogan's attention.
Huh.
And and if they gave up quickly to like the pressures of being an outlier or anything like that, maybe Joe Rogan have never happened. And it was great because I was like, you guys stuck to your beliefs, you guys stuck to this, you didn't let anyone push you around, and now look what happened. The scene is much better off, and now you have the respect of the scene too. When the Joe Rogan podcast came on, they were like, so many people were like, yo, I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy. And if you really knew how much harassment they had in the 2000s, you'd have been like, wow, I was an idiot.
Yeah. That's something I've noticed about creative people or anyone who takes creative risk is I think our culture is sort of programmed this way. Nobody loves you until everybody loves you.
Yeah.
And you got to find these little communities of people that'll keep you alive while you're coming up.
Yeah.
Like people that are going to support you enough so that you can keep doing what you're doing, because until you've made it and we can idolize you, you're sort of like you're on the outside.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's a blanket statement and it doesn't apply everywhere.
No, I feel it's the same with music, with I don't know, with any art, with music, with TV shows or something like that. You don't really appreciate it until you give another 10 years and you finally appreciate it.
Yeah. Excuse me. So is there anyone in that scene that you really think is like, or maybe a couple of people that you think are really pushing the boundaries,
mm-hmm.
or any sort of heroes that you're looking up to, either as a dancer or even as a social media person, because you're treating social media like an art form.
Yeah. I mean, right now, the biggest B-boy in our scene right now, he goes by the name of Pocket.
Yeah, I've seen Pocket all over.
You've seen Pocket? Yeah, see, even you have seen Pocket.
Yeah.
And really great kid from Korea. He just won freestyle session, and he has the craziest power moves in the world. He never falls. He doesn't crash. He is so smooth with it. And every time he goes out, it's just like he goes Super Saiyan. He's like this big burst of energy. And what is amazing about Pocket is it gets non-dancers' attention. I've seen so many memes, GIFs, viral videos of Pocket on Reddit, on all these sites for at least the last 4 years. A lot of them from my camera. And he is great because he is the bridge right now between the dance scene and the rest of the world that has not discovered this dance scene. Joe Rogan, he was mentioned on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was mentioned on Tim Ferriss's, who...
Yeah, Tim Ferriss is all about this now. Yeah, I saw
Gary
Ferriss
Vee
on Facebook the other day talking
about Pocket.
Yeah.
He is huge. Now he does power moves, which means he doesn't do the old school 70s, 80s foundation footwork on the floor. However, he's still a B-boy because he has the respects of all the people, all the elder generations of the scene. But what's important about him is he is the gap. He is the bridge, And we are so excited for him because I want him to go far, because if he does well, everyone else in the scene does well. Like I said, I think he is like, in my opinion, I think Pocket is like the Tony Hawk of our scene. When Tony Hawk exploded in the skateboard scene, the entire rest of the skateboard scene did well. Yeah. And they just needed that one push.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. That's cool. And this is coming from the inside, like what's up.
Yeah.
So,
I
mean, I'm like one of those guys. I look on Facebook, I'm like, oh, look at that crazy move, but from the inside, this is...
Super nice kid, too. Super nice kid. So every time he has a big smile on his face, it's like, how do you not like him?
Yeah. Well, I like happy people who are doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, a little bit, I want to ask just briefly, I think you mentioned something about Youth Olympics.
Yeah.
Like what's going on? Is this moving that direction, like gymnastics or?
So it was announced last year that breaking will be in the Youth Olympics for 2018 in Buenos Aires. And what people usually do for Youth Olympics is they have what we call test sports. And if it does well, then it will get promoted to an official Olympic sport. So it's like the stepping stones to the World Olympics. and there have been 2 qualifiers so far for the Youth Olympics next year, and there's going to be 1 more left to go in Taiwan. So you have the European Africa qualifier, you have the Americas qualifier, and then you have the Asia qualifier.
Huh.
Yeah.
This could go big.
This could go big. This could go big, and you have elders in the dance scene that are very supporting it, very, very supportive of it, and then you have, it has gotten worldwide media attention. CNN, other different media sources have covered it, and and we are working with it. So I hope it goes well, because who knows, if it's successful next year in Argentina, it could go as early as the next Olympics.
Wow. That would be huge. And that's, I guess this is sort of a time, I'm snowboarding. That was sort of like, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And then it was suddenly a real Olympic thing. Mm-hmm. And this could be another one of those. I guess it's something else to aspire to. I don't know if that's good or bad, because I don't know if you want the Olympics to be like the end goal of like why you would get into this.
Oh, totally. It's there was some pushback within the scene. Obviously, you want to do it with caution.
Yeah. You
want to do it with caution. I think the people that, especially the elder people in the scene that have signed on, I trust their judgment. So fingers crossed. I hope it goes well.
With permission, we are listening to DJ Fleg's Stance B-Boy B-Girl Mix. If you swing by MakeMovesWithJohn.com and find the blog post for this episode, I will provide a link so you can download all 30-something minutes of this mix. I think you'll enjoy it if you like this kind of music. I'm going to let it run here for just a couple of seconds. If you're walking around, I don't know, Sears, and you feel like getting down on the smooth floor, get to it.
Class with my hand up, 2 out security guards grab my man up. Threw up in the kitchen, 5 days suspension. Cause he said the teacher was lying about the Indians. Trying to dumb us with the story of Columbus and brain numbers. And all you see that came from us. They copied carbon, I learned about God. Then tag and logo on the book margin. And just like a New York riot, she stood quiet and asked me, could she speak to me in private? Mr. Jakes, you acting like a fool. Huh? You know these fools that we have in these schools. You and your friends think y'all cool cause you walk through these halls with the 12 jewels. Fast laces and tricolor sneakers. I still like.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about you, sort of more as a person. We've fixated a lot on, the scene and dance and whatnot. But I'm curious about you. You're in this really deep now. You're like you've kind of built your life around this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like any part of that is like a liability? Like, do you feel like you're spending your time in the right place? Do you feel like there's a limited time at the fair here before you got to go home? Or do you think you can just keep running with this? You said you want to do it for 20 years, but do you feel like there's any risk in that?
Right now, being 35 and still doing this part-time, there's a balance between working real jobs versus doing this, which is still on the end of like a passion project. We do have the social media numbers, we do have the reach, but the money is not there as you would like it to be. So you still have to, I work part-time as a videographer, so I do commercial shoots and stuff like that. So you have to balance your time, between actually earning money versus, obviously a passion project. But every year it's getting better. So every year there are better events, there's better money, there's better finances. I feel at this moment you take it year by year. And it does help that I'm not doing this alone. For stance, I have 7 other people with me. I have, and so while it is still work, it's fun.
Right.
It's fun because I have a support group, and they in turn they have us as well. So, if it wasn't fun, if I didn't do it with my friends, I would not be doing it. Every morning we wake up, we're like, so who's uploading anything? Who's uploading what today? What's going on today? What's fun? And we just talk to each other. We're just really good friends, and so it doesn't feel like work. So I mean, that and that is, I think that is my, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a strategy or secret, but that is what really made Stance fun, is just because it doesn't feel like work. We don't have an active recruiting process of, I want to, how do I register? How do I apply to be part of Stance? We just do it with my group of friends, and we learn as we go.
I like it. I wish I had a group of friends.
working on your podcast, and you could. I mean,
maybe, I don't know. I have had some friends who've offered to help out.
I'll tell you this: out of our group of friends, only one actually has an actual film background, professional film degree. All of us do not. We learned as we went. We look at back our videos, like even 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and we're like, how did people watch this?
I know the feeling. So, I mean, I want to ask you a little bit. I mean, I know you've got this friend network.
Yeah.
You somewhere mid-30s, something like that?
What, who?
You?
I'm 35.
35, yeah. Exactly, mid-30s. Are you married or partnered or anything like that?
No, I'm not married.
Okay. So you don't have kids or anything
No.
like that? Okay, so I'm just trying to get a feel for, how much freedom do you have at this point?
At this moment, I have a lot of freedom.
You've got a lot of freedom to do what you
A
want
lot
to
of
do.
travel. I tried having a cat a couple years ago. Oh, travel got hard.
You do travel a lot, I've noticed
Yeah.
from your Facebook feed and whatnot. So I mean, aside from your friends, do you lean on any particular people, like when you're not sure if this is going to work, or when you're just tired, or are there people that you reach out to?
Yeah. Well, like I said, in Stance we have 7 other people.
Right, and they're all equally crazy.
They're all equally crazy as me. We talk with we are our own support group. We have 2 that live in the UK, in Europe. So that's how we cover the European events. And then we have the rest, live here in the United States and Korea. And we see each other, but we always talk to each other each day. And then I also have my roommate, who is a filmmaker herself. And she doesn't do any dance stuff. She does commercial travel work, lifestyle. And just by having, and she's, my closest friend, and just by having another creative that supports me, that's really close to me by being my roommate for the last 4 or 5 years, I have an outsider's perspective on how to, go about doing things and how to be more creative, how to, handle, my stress levels, handle my workflow, stuff like that.
I mean, you said you learned all this sort of as you went, but I guess, you want to do a good job or you wouldn't keep trying, or you wouldn't have been as successful. Do you feel like do you need or crave validation? Like, I got this right, or I didn't get this right, or do you just sort of do it and whatever, you're going to go down your path no matter what?
Okay. I'd be lying if I said all of our videos have been a success. Because really, even now, we don't know what we're doing. However, we are learning what not to do.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good, it's like social media is such a new field that there is no, I don't think there is no handbook on you should do this and you should not do that. There really isn't, because every year the patterns are changing. Whether a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago, YouTube was the biggest thing. Now YouTube is, I think YouTube is like 3rd tier. You got Facebook and Instagram doing this thing, and
especially for all the live stream stuff. I know Facebook Live, it's like YouTube for a while was really dominating at that. It's just not there anymore.
Not there anymore.
Yeah.
And if you post something on YouTube, what's the first thing you do? you post a link on Facebook so people can watch it. It's like, come on, skip the middleman. There's so many different kinds of trends nowadays that we're really experimenting every single day when we create content. And I don't know if this will be successful or not, but I'll know by the end of the day if it was not successful, and I'll learn from that, not to do it again. So that's our steps. That's how we work.
I'm always curious how. Okay, I've started that question 4 times. Back up, John. You said you learned a lot of this as you went, but you have been doing this a while now, so you must have a sense of when you're happy with it aesthetically. Like you must think like, I really like how this looks.
Yes.
But are you measuring, you said successful. Are you talking successful in terms of, hits? Or are you talking successful and like, I'm really pleased with how this looks? Or are those two not even are they intertwined considerations?
Good question. Obviously, numbers is a very good indication if you're doing something well or not. It does feel great if I put a lot of work into any kind of media and then people actually do watch it. It feels nice.
Yeah.
It feels nice to get validation knowing that people like to watch my work. It also is nice to get validation from what I call the older people, the elders in the scene, from the 70s and 80s who watch my stuff and be like, I approve your work even nowadays. And it does give me validation to know that people like you who are not even in the scene like my work. So ideally, I would love to cover all 3 grounds. Mm-hmm. And sometimes if it's not working well, next video I'll do something a little bit different. Let me see what can I tweak a little bit more so I get like more people watching what I do, because it is time put in, and if the time put in does not amount to, for me, if it doesn't amount to the number of views that coming back, your time put in is better used for something else.
Yeah. I encounter that even with podcasts. Some questions work, some types of guests work, some don't. And I love the process of doing it, and mm-hmm. I want it to reach people, and I want to be happy with the finished product. But if 26 people listen, it's 8 hours of work.
Yeah.
Maybe I got to do something a little different.
Yeah. Occasionally you can do stuff for yourself.
Yeah. But you're a social media company. That's the thing is, like, you're supposed to have reach. Otherwise, you'd be an art house.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so in some sense, when you get numbers, it's not like you need the numbers for your ego, maybe, but you need the numbers to know that you're actually hitting your mission.
Or I feel numbers is the best indication if an audience likes what we do or not.
Yeah.
If we don't have enough numbers for certain kinds of content, I'm like, let's go back to something else.
Yeah. You're in your mid-30s, so you're not exactly a baby, and you're not exactly old. You're right in that middle zone.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, assuming you live another 35 or 40 years, you're somewhere in the middle of your life, I guess. Do you have any advice for people that are sort of either younger or older? I don't care that they're chipping away at something that they're really interested in. They're not quite sure if there's a scene out there to support them, or if they are going to be the thing that helps make the scene be visible. But do you have any advice for people who are, it could be anything. Well, of course, now I can't think of a good example. I don't know, professional log splitters or something like that. But do you have any advice for people who want to sort of like be in the ecosystem of a larger movement about how to do it usefully? Oh, wait, that sounded great. Do you have any advice for people who want to be in the ecosystem of a larger movement and be able to do it usefully?
I feel with social media nowadays, you can do anything as long as you are consistent and you put out quality and you put it out regularly. I was just on Instagram the other day, and I found like professional hula hoopers with like thousands of views. I'm like, where did this come from? But they posted a video every other day of some cool hula hooping. It's like, okay. You're dedicated to this. I can see that. So now you have an audience. Same with us. quality, consistency equals what? Audience. That's what we did. And you know, Stance is not the first dance channel. There's other dance channels. We've actually we're only 3 years old, believe it or not. I was actually part of another dance channel before this, and there's been like 5 or 6 even before that. But the thing is, you know, quality, consistency, and knowing what the social media trends are. You know, short clips, people's attention spans, you know, things like that, and it's fun. So you add all those together, you can create your own audience. You know, whether you say it's log splitting or even something, you know, minute as hula hooping, or there are so many small things that out there. As long as you are consistent with it, you will get people to watch. And hopefully one thing that shows in what I create is passion. You'll see that we actually like making this stuff. You know, you'll see it in our titles, you'll see it in the way we do videos, and in other, you know, social media channels that are successful, you see their passion in their work, and people will gravitate towards passion.
Yeah, I do think you can see it. It's the little details that, you know, if you were rushing because you didn't care, it wouldn't be there.
It wouldn't be there. No.
Yeah. What do you think is, you know, so of all the work that you're doing in the social media world, and also I guess in that dance world that you're part of, what do you think is like the biggest misconceptions about, you know, belonging there? What do you think the major, you know, the outside culture doesn't quite get that you see on the inside? Did that question make sense?
The biggest misconception of the dance scene?
Yeah, the dance scene, or the social media scene for that matter. But, you know, of the places where you really belong, what do you think the outside world sort of gets wrong or doesn't understand really correctly?
I feel we are, in terms of social media, I feel we are in a, we're in a period where people of an older generation are slowly seeing the power of it. Like people like my parents' age, who are in their 60s, who have been used to, you know, watching television channels their entire lives, and then they suddenly see the audience that we actually have on social media, and knowing that younger people are gravitating towards social media more than televised network TV shows, you know. And so when they, like my dad the other day, well, it was a couple months ago, he was like, "You have this many viewers?" He had no idea. He had no idea. He thought I was just posting something on my personal page for fun. You know? I was like, yeah, like, you know this thing we just did? It has more views than your TV show right there. And he's like, really? You know, they had no idea. They have no idea. And it's fun. It's funny because you have companies nowadays who have they advertise social media jobs, but they really don't know what they're hiring or who they're hiring. They just know that we need to have a person there. Right? And they don't even know what salary to pay them. We have no idea, because these are people my dad's age hiring people, and they have no idea. So you're at this moment where just like, you have the people in charge who have no idea what the movement is really going on. And that is the misconception, that we're just doing this, you know, just for fun. Just you know, because from their perspective, all they see are, you know, people doing selfies or or stuff like that. But really, do you know that there is power in this?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, I remember what happens with a lot of art forms, but yeah, I do think that you have a medium here that it has unique benefits and power to it that the older generation didn't have that option, and they may not see the value of it, or it might take them a while to come around. But the people who are sort of the natives in this, they understand there's something about short attention spans. There's something about, you know, serial repetition. There's things you can do that cater. It's sort of like I said, an artistic way of thinking about communicating.
Very, very so much. Very, very much.
And I also think it's funny that we train kids in schools for jobs that we don't know what they'll be in 20 years. And then there's people your parents' age who are hiring kids for jobs, and they don't even understand what the jobs are that they're hiring them
for. They have no idea.
And somehow in the middle of not knowing all of this, everyone grows up and does something. How could this be?
Yeah.
So let's see. We should probably start winding down. Where can people find out more about you and Stance? What are the best places to go look? I will provide links of whatever you tell me.
The Stance, our two big pages are our Facebook page and our Instagram page. We are very, very active on those two pages, and then we also have a YouTube page that's quite active as well.
And my last question is, you mentioned this 20th anniversary event that you, or 20th annual. I don't think it was anniversary. That makes it sound old. 20th annual makes it sound vibrant. What was that about, and where will there be more events coming up that people can see? Well, first of all, everyone go out there and like and follow and do all this stuff so you can watch it on your social media, assuming you have social media and you're not old and refusing to get with the times.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But where, if someone wanted to see this in real life, what would be like a reasonable, friendly place for people to sort of explore and say, hey, I'm really interested in this dance movement. I want to go check it out. Or is there a place?
I am one of the board members for the Pro Breaking Tour, which is a movement that has been here for the past 4 years. And it's a series of events throughout through North America of sanctioned dance competitions. If you go to udeftour.org, you will see our full schedule every year, and those are the quality events that we support. And Freestyle Session 20th anniversary that just happened last week is one of the headliners of the tour, and the organizer, his name is Cross One, who's also part of Stance, has been doing it for so long. His tour, he actually does it with his business partner named Polo Molina, who's also the manager for the Black Eyed Peas. And they've been doing it for 20 years. It's incredible, and it is the perfect combination of the world's most talented dancers while still making it underground. While still having that club, that grimy, raw kind of feel to it, that gives you that intense energy that you will see. If you look at our footage, you will see the energy of the crowd and the dancers at Freestyle Session. And these are the kinds of events that we're trying to bring it out to people.
Yeah. Well, I hope to make one soon. I hope we get to keep in touch. I really thank you for coming on Make Moves. I wish you all the best of luck with, I want to say succeeding, but I think you're going to define whatever success is. It's probably you who's going to set the bar for everyone else about what they need to be thinking about. And then, of course, it'll change. And then you'll be an old guy one day, and you'll have to figure out what the next thing is so you can hire some kid to do it for you. But thank you so much for coming on the show. And again, I hope we do get to keep in touch. And listeners out there, please do go hit the makemoveswithjohn.com website. Find the blog post for this episode. You'll be able to catch links so you can easily find all of it.
Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, there you have it. This episode is coming to a close. A big thanks to Daniel Zhu for coming on the show. I had a great time talking with him, quite a hoot for me. If you all have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Feel free to shoot an email to feedback@makemoveswithjohn.com or message us on any of the social media platforms. Just find Make Moves with John. We'll be there. Okay, another episode should be dropping soon. Look forward to giving that to you. Until then, please take good care of yourselves. Go out there and make moves.